So we've talked about the different hierarchies of life, and now we're going to focus on structures of communities and then ecosystems. A community consists of all living things that are found in a single geological area. Remember that a population was all of the members of a single species in one area. This is the next higher level of organization. So a community is all of the populations in an area. Community ecologists study communities. The definition of each community differs from one scientist to the next. So scientists use descriptions to talk about communities. Scientists talk about the number of species and their composition, meaning what species are present. The community in the savanna includes the lions, the wildebeest, the grasses, and the shrubs. The coral reef community on the right is made up of the fish, of which there are many different species, and the coral and plankton in the water. Species abundance refers to how many individuals are present in each species. There are many more wildebeests than there are lions in the savanna. However, the striped fish and the orange fish appear to be present in about the same number of individuals. Ecologists also study interactions such as feeding relationships. The lions hunt the wildebeest as prey, and the fish may eat the coral or the plankton. The word inter in interspecific means between. Specific is referring to the word species. So interspecific means between species. Interspecific interactions will occur between members of two different species. These interactions can be either helpful and have a beneficial effect on species, or they can be hurtful and have a negative effect on a species. There will always be two species involved in an interaction, so each type of interaction is defined by the effect on the two species. Whether both species experience a negative effect, or both experience a positive effect, or one species is helped while the other one is hurt. You can see a summary chart here that'll be really helpful to show a summary of all of the interactions that we're going to discuss. An ecological niche is all of the resources an organism needs to survive. This means the biotic, or living, and the abiotic, or non-living, resources it uses throughout its life. This could be things such as air and water, and also food sources such as plants and animals. In this picture, we can see two species of warbler birds. These birds' niches include nesting sites, insects to eat, and specific climate conditions. The birds are similar enough to each other that they have the same needs. This means that their ecological niches overlap, causing them to compete. Competition causes a negative effect for both species. Each species is trying to get enough resources to survive and produce offspring. Because there are not enough resources for all of the birds, they have to compete for them. This lowers the reproductive success of both species. The picture on the right shows an example of competition among plant species. The resource they are competing for is light. Plants that can grow taller than the plants around them can get their leaves closer to the sun and get more light. A mutualism is when both species are benefited by an interaction. So here are some examples. The clownfish in the top right lives in an anemone. Clownfish live the anemone, and so they get a habitat that they benefit. The clownfish also helps to scare off other fish that might eat the anemone. So the anemone is benefited by the clownfish's protection. On the bottom left, we have a honeybee and a flower. The bee is a pollinator. It takes pollen from one flower to the next flower, and this helps the flowers reproduce. The flowers provide the bee with nectar, so that gives them a meal. On the bottom right, we can see plant roots. The plant root is covered in nodules. The nodules contain bacteria. The bacteria provides nitrogen for the plant, which is a resource that the plant needs. And then the plant provides a habitat for the bacteria to thrive. Both species are benefited. Predation is when one species, the predator, eats another species, the prey. In this case, the predator is benefited with a meal, and the prey is hurt because it is dead. Predation is one of the strongest driving factors for natural selection. Many prey species have developed adaptations that allow them to avoid predators. Camouflage helps prey species to blend in so that they are not seen. In this picture, the tree frog matches the bark of the tree so well that it is hard to see. Prey have also developed spines and shells that help protect them. Shells are very hard to break through, and spines usually damage the predator. This porcupine will use its quills to deter a predator. Many species use chemicals that are poisonous or taste very bad. The monarch butterfly builds up chemicals from the milkweed it eats when it is a caterpillar. This makes them taste bad to predators. The orange and the black coloring also helps to warn the predators that they are not good to eat. Another example is mimicry. Some prey species that are not harmful will mimic other harmful species. The coral snake is extremely dangerous, and its venom is very deadly. Predators have learned that the red, yellow, and black striping warns of venomous snakes. The scarlet king snake is also colored similarly, but is totally harmless. Predators, like birds, might be hesitant to attack the king snake, thinking it is a coral snake. Herbivory is similar to predation, only it happens when animals eat plants. The animal is benefited with a meal, and the plant is harmed by having portions of its body eaten. The plant is not typically killed, only part of it is eaten. Plants develop adaptations to help protect themselves from being eaten by animals, things such as toxins, thorns, and spines of a cactus. Coevolution occurs when animals that eat those plants also develop adaptations as a response. This means that one species is changing to survive better, that another species is also changing to continue the herbivory interaction. An example of this can be seen with the Passiflora plant and the Heliconius butterfly. The Passiflora plant developed toxins to deter most insects from feeding on it. As a result of that, the Heliconius caterpillar developed enzymes that could break down the toxins so that it could continue to eat the plant. In response to this herbivory, some leaves of the plant develop yellow spots. The adult butterflies think that these yellow spots are eggs, and they won't lay their real eggs on those leaves. This helps to protect those leaves from the hungry baby caterpillars. Parasites are organisms that live in or on a host. The tick in the bottom left lives on a host and drinks blood from the host through the skin. The tapeworm in the middle lives inside of the intestines and feeds off of food that travels through the intestine. The parasite benefits from a meal, while the host is harmed. However, the host is typically not killed by the parasite, because the parasite needs the host to continue living. A pathogen is a microscopic form of a parasite, and it is disease-causing. This includes things like bacteria, viruses, fungi, and some protists. The picture on the bottom right shows E. coli bacteria. This is the pathogen that recently had an outbreak in romaine lettuce, initiating a recall. Some pathogens can kill the host very quickly and violently, like the Ebola virus, whereas other pathogens are tolerated and destroyed by the immune system within a week, like the cold virus.